Hello guys, welcome to this tutorial. Welcome to another video, and we're going to learn something simple from JavaScript. So as the file name says here, we're going to learn about a helper function or helper functions. Now remember, we said in programming we are likely to be using functions in whatever programs that you're using. And a function is used to perform one specific function. Now, let's say we're going to do some math today. So let's say we want to convert, make a formula that's going to convert Fahrenheit to Celsius. Okay, so these are two different units that are used to measure temperature. So one common unit is known as Fahrenheit, and another one is known as Celsius. So one is known as Fahrenheit or Fahrenheit, okay, and then another one is called Celsius. So I would like us to write a formula that's going to convert Fahrenheit to Celsius. So convert, let's convert the Fahrenheit to Celsius, okay. Now, what I've done just here is to comment out or to write comments in our code. So to write comments is to simply type or press Control then /. That way, we're going to create comments. And a comment is a statement that is readable to us, but is not going to be executed by the program. So comments mostly help us to write important notes within our codes. Okay, now a formula that is going to help us to convert Fahrenheit to Celsius is a one common formula. That is, you take your Celsius value, multiply it by 9/5, and then add that result to 32. That way, you could have converted Fahrenheit to Celsius, okay? So if you want to convert Fahrenheit, let's say we give it capital F there. So we're going to have our formula, which is 9/5, okay? 9/5, that's how we write 9/5, okay? And then multiply it by that number of, or that value of Celsius. Okay, if you had 10 degrees Celsius and you want to convert it to Fahrenheit, so you'll have 9/5 times that value of Celsius, and then going to add 32 to the result. So for those of you who remember maths, we had something known as board mass, so that we help we find this calculation in the right way. Maths formulas start with division or brackets first, then division, then multiplication, then addition, and lastly subtraction. Okay, so let me include another brackets here so that we have everything enclosed in the right way. So this is the formula of calculating Fahrenheit. So for us to convert Fahrenheit to Celsius, we're going to take our number multiplied by 9/5. Okay, going to take this number, but normally this is how math does it. It's 9/5 first because it's in brackets, 9 divided by 5, then we get our value. And then from there, in between multiplication and addition, multiplication must come first. So we multiply this answer of 9/5 by the degree Celsius, and then add it to 32, or add the answer you get from this, okay, computation, and then add it to 32. Now, if we want to make a program that does this conversion, we are basically going to do two tasks. The first task is going to be to have this first calculation done, okay, have its answer, and then the second task is to add the answer to this computation to 32. Now that's where helper functions come in. So we're going to create two functions. The first function will be for multiplying the Celsius by 9/5. Then the second function is going to be adding our answer to 32. Now let's start by the first function. So let's start the function declaration there. Let's say this function is going to be called multiply by 9/5. or giving it a short name, multiply by 9, 5. Okay, so let's say multiply 9, 5. Yeah, as a shorter name. So let's say multiply 9, 5. Okay, so this is the function that's going to multiply our degree Celsius by 9 or 5. Now let's give our parameter to the number that is going to be the value of the Celsius. Okay, so let's say number there. Okay, and then our function body. Now in JavaScript you have a keyword known as return. Now return is simply a keyword that finishes or finalizes our execution. So whenever you have your execution, return is the value that you're telling your function after you are done doing whatever calculations you've been told to do. After finishing doing whatever computations, now I want you to return this value. Okay, now we want to tell this function of multiply 9, 5 to return. Now our computation starts here. Okay, so we write this formula of 9 divide by 5. So we have our brackets there. And then we write 9 divide by 5. Okay. Then what next in the formula? Multiply. So we have our asterisk there. Okay. And then the next number is the number now, the Celsius number that we're going to use to multiply by 9 or 5. Okay. So we're going to write now number, meaning the parameter we passed in here, now we're going to use it here as the variable. Okay, now this way we're going to have the answer for 9 over 5 multiplied by that Celsius value. Okay, now this function is purely used to multiply whatever Celsius we have by 9 over 5. That's it. Okay, now we are yet remaining with one task, adding the answer for this, okay, to 32. All right. Now it's possible we could have done everything here in one function, but for us to have easy readability or to make our code modular, modular means every function has one specific role. To avoid mixing up roles, we're going to create the second function that is going to add 32. Okay, so let's say function. Now this is the function that's going to convert to Fahrenheit. Okay, so let's say find Fahrenheit. Okay, so let's say find Fahrenheit. Then we're going to pass in our parameter. Okay, so this parameter is going to be the Celsius value. Okay, we could give it any number. So our Celsius value. Okay, and our body for the function goes there. Now we're going to return. Now this is where we're going to use our helper function. So a helper function is a function that is used in another function. A helper function is a smaller function or a function that takes part in another function. So we're going to call our function for multiply 9 by 5 here. Okay, so multiply 9 by 5, meaning whenever I call this function, it's going to perform this computation that is in its body. Okay, so once I call that function, I'm going to pass in that parameter. Okay, because we said the formula is 9 over 5 times that Celsius. So the Celsius that is on our parameter for the function of find Fahrenheit is the one that's going to work here. So let's say Celsius there. Okay, I'll explain in a bit once I'm done writing this code. So we're going to return multiply 9, 5, pass in the Celsius, and then at last, once we have our answer, going to add it to 32. Okay, so plus 32 there. Okay, now let me explain in a bit how this function works. Now in JavaScript or in any program, we have our codes being run top down. So the first function is to multiply 9 by 5 to whatever number that we give it. So we give it 10, it's going to do 9 over 5 times 10. We give in 20 as parameter, it will do the same thing. Now, after the code runs, we come to the second function that is known as find Fahrenheit. And then this function has a parameter also. The parameter is Celsius. Now, what is inside this second function? Another function has been called. So once this function is called, our code is going back. Whenever it sees this name, it acts as a function call. It's going back to the function where it was defined. Okay. Now, once it goes back there, it will discover that this function that has been called here, which is multiply 9, 5, needs a parameter. Okay. So that's what we passed in here. Now we passed in here this Celsius or whatever Celsius we have as the parameter for multiply 9, 5. Now instead of this number here, we're going to use Celsius because it is our new argument. So Celsius is the argument for number which was the parameter for the function. Hopefully that makes sense so far. So when our function or multiply 9, 5 function is called as a function call here or as a helper function, it will come and execute this computation here. So whatever Celsius we give it, it will multiply it by 9 or 5 and then return it back here as one value. Okay, so this is gonna be one value that is a result of whatever that was passed in on top here. Now once we get that answer, we're going to add it to 32. And that's how we're going to convert our Celsius to Fahrenheit. Okay. Now let's log out our results so that we can now test out with various values. So console log. Now let's call this function of find Fahrenheit. Okay. Then we give it a value. So let's say 15. So when you give in a value of Celsius, 15 Celsius, we want to convert it to Fahrenheit. So this is what is going to happen. So we're going to call our function Fahrenheit, passing 15, and then what is inside the body of find Fahrenheit, the function of multiply by 5, and then it's having a parameter of Celsius. So this Fahrenheit, which has 15, the same 15 is going to be passed in here so that multiply 9,5 is going to multiply 9,5 by 15, because 15 is our value here. So it's going to be 9 times 5. Okay, not times 5, sorry, 9 over 5 times 15. Okay, then we are here, and then add it to 32. So if you take out your calculator and confirm 9 over 5 times 15, and then you add it to 32, we're going to have 59 as our answer. Okay, so let's run our code and see whether we are having 59. Yes, 59 is our answer here. Okay, so our code, once again, how it works is this way. We have two functions, okay, and then those functions depend on each other in a way that one function is used inside another function. So I hope that makes sense. So you're free to practice on this code, or to give in more examples, or to try out more functions that depend on each other so that you can get a grasp on how helper functions work. So if there's any question about how I've gone through this code, feel free to leave your question in the comment section, okay, of this video, and I'll be able to answer the question out and give out help according to how the question is. So thank you guys. See you in another video.